हमारे मध्य हैं, मैं आपका दिल से स्वागत करता हूं, वंदन करता हूं। जोरदार तालियों से हम स्वागत करेंगे आदरणीय जी का। ऑल इंडिया बैटरी फेडरेशन के अध्यक्ष आदरणीय मूल जी भाई भी आ चुके हैं, अभी हॉल में थे। अध्यक्ष जी शायद बाहर चले गए हैं। हमारे मध्य ऑल इंडिया बैटरी फेडरेशन के वाइस प्रेसिडेंट, सीनियर वाइस प्रेसिडेंट, हमारे बड़े भाई आदरणीय हर्षपाल जी हमारे मध्य हैं। हम आपका स्वागत करते हैं, वंदन करते हैं, अभिनंदन करते हैं। ऑल इंडिया बैटरी फेडरेशन के सदस्य आदरणीय रवि गोविंदन जी भी हमारे मध्य हैं। हम आपका भी स्वागत करते हैं, वंदन करते हैं, अभिनंदन करते हैं। एक ऐसा कालखंड गुजर गया कि जिसमें हम लोग भी आज 2 साल बाद मिल रहे हैं। जिनके व्यक्तिगत संबंध थे वो तो यदा कदा मिलते रहे कोरोना से बचाव करते हुए, लेकिन जिस तरह हम मिलते थे हर साल, वो 2 साल के बाद मिल रहे हैं। और ये मौका आदरणीय अरविंद जी ने हमको उपलब्ध कराया है। हम आपका भी स्वागत करते हैं, अभिनंदन करते हैं आदरणीय अरविंद जी का भी, जिन्होंने ये मौका हम सबको मिलने के लिए दिया है। आज कॉन्फ्रेंस है और 3 दिन बैटरी फेयर नोएडा में है। मैं भी फेडरेशन का जनरल सेक्रेटरी होने के नाते ये कोशिश करूँगा कि आप लोगों को कोई परेशानी ना हो। उसके बाद भी किसी को कोई दिक्कत आए तो मैं पहले से ही आती ही हैं। हमारे मध्य हमारे फेडरेशन के सदस्य आदरणीय रवि गोविंदन जी भी आ चुके हैं। मैं आपका भी स्वागत करता हूं, नमन करता हूं। रवि जी बैठो। हम आगे के कार्यक्रम के लिए मैं माया जी को आग्रह करता हूं कि वो अपना प्रोग्राम संभालें।
गणेश श्लोक के साथ कार्यक्रम का शुरुआत करते हैं और ये श्लोक भी आप सभी को आता होगा। मैं उम्मीद करती हूँ कि आप सभी मेरे साथ गाएंगे। वक्रतुंड महाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभ निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्व कार्येषु सर्वदा। जैसा कि हम सभी को पता है, हम यहाँ सभी एकत्र हुए हैं आज हमारी कॉन्फ्रेंस में। तो मैं उम्मीद करती हूँ कि इस कॉन्फ्रेंस में जो भी इंफॉर्मेशन और जो भी बातचीत होगी उससे आप अवगत होंगे। तो इसी क्रम को आगे बढ़ाते हुए मैं श्री नरेश तोमर जी से कहूँगी कि वो दीप प्रज्वलन के लिए कार्यक्रम को आगे बढ़ाएं।
हेलो एवरीवन, स्लाइड्स। मैं आप लोग के सामने एल्युमिनियम एयर बैटरी के बारे में बात करने वाला हूं। और इसका अभी रिसेंट टर्म में बहुत ज़्यादा प्रचलन चल रहा है, क्योंकि बड़ी बड़ी कंपनी इस पे काफ़ी ज़्यादा पैसे डाल रही है। तो इसमें बहुत सारी अच्छी बातें, बहुत सारी बुरी बातें, तो इस सबका एक पूरा Okay, so there is a lot of interest in this technology basically because lot of big people with big pockets are spending money into this. So let's discuss this further. So before we go into aluminum air battery, we must understand the component that makes this puppy last. That is aluminum itself. Now, most of you know for a fact that all metals have like certain amount of power. We use lead, we use mercury, we use nickel. All metals have certain capacity. Now, aluminum in amongst them, they are seriously powerful. To give you a context, what kind of power we are talking about? We are talking about rocket fuel level power, because this puppy is used in space shuttle main boosters to basically give it more power. Even almost all military missiles, all ICBM interceptors generally add aluminum to boost power. That should give you a capacity of understanding is like what kind of power we are talking about. It is really powerful, especially when it oxidizes properly. Now, mathematically giving you a certain scale of it, petrol gives you around 46, and let's assume 45 plus. Petrol and diesel will give you megajoules per kilogram. Now, this is significantly powerful. Now, while the kilogram was is very good, liter is the most important part, because when you are talking about a liquid, liter matters. Now, at that point in time, you are talking about 34 to 38 when you are talking about petrol and diesel. Now, aluminum, because it's a light metal, it does not have the very serious capacity of kilograms. It can only go to 31 megajoule per kilogram, which is not that high. But again, compared to normal lithium ion, that's 0.8. So that's why like there is such a huge interest in energy storage, because it's order of magnitude better. On top of that, when you compare to volume wise, as in liter wise, this can go to 83, which is one of the highest you can achieve. So that should give you a context of that on a chemical level. When you are talking on a just raw physical chemical level, it's very idiotically powerful. Let's put the second slide. Now, what's the working behind this? Now, I would urge you to never think about aluminum air battery as a battery. It's not battery. It's fundamentally speaking, it's a fuel cell. It uses solid component. It's not a battery. So it takes three core component. Now, be mindful, there are some other mixtures, other patents, other stuff, but I'm talking about oxygen, water, aluminum system. So be very mindful. Do not try to put this in a satellite. You have to provide oxygen also for that. Now, it can achieve one of the highest energy density possible. To give you a context, 8 times higher than lithium ion has been achieved. It's not something that is in lab. It's something that people have physically built and tested it. Like, it's real. And the one of the most lovely factor about this, it has water as a control factor. Now, what does that mean? That it simply means it this way. All of you have dealt with electric vehicles. Now, imagine it this way. You have an electric vehicle and a lockdown happens. What happens to the charge in that system? Again, you paid money to put that charge there. You cannot just have a scenario where it's like, oh yeah, I just lost 10% of that. Now, imagine that lockdown persisting for days, weeks, months. Yeah, bye-bye your charge. In this scenario, if you have a good system where you can drain the water out of it properly, I mean, of course, there will be some moisture, you can stop the decay. Meaning, if it's 50% state of charge when you have like stopped using it and drain the water out of it, it will stay stuck at 50%. How long? Indefinitely. Fundamentally speaking, again, we generally expect there will be some leak of seal, some damage, some humidity, moisture, but you can easily expect 10 years lifespan. So that's the interesting aspect. It has water as a control factor, meaning if you want to just stop it, just freeze it, it's like just stop, you can do that. That is one of the most amazing aspect of it. And that's why I'm saying, think of it as a fuel cell, do not think of it as a battery. Now, recently there have been a lot of talks about making India independent. Independent as in like we can take care of ourselves. So aluminum is cheap and we have seriously large amount of deposits of it. So there is a lot of push into that. Now, how do you sell this to common people? It's like, who wants to buy this? Well, you just say you are burning aluminum because, well, burning is oxidization. Now, that should trigger a red alert in your brain because burning something is fundamentally non-reversible, meaning this is a primary cell. That's why I urge all of you to do not talk about as a battery, talk about as a fuel cell. It's non-rechargeable, meaning you cannot feed electricity into this to reverse the process. Now, how do you charge it? Well, you don't. That's the problem with this. That's why it's primary cell. You have to basically take aluminum hydroxide and re-smelt it, meaning make it from fresh. And at that point in time, you can do that with almost any metals. And that is one thing that you must understand. Is you are burning aluminum. It's not something you can electrically reverse. Now, what is the process behind it? You take aluminum, you react it with oxygen, you react it with hydrogen, and you get aluminum hydroxide at 2.71 volts. Now, how do you measure the state of charge? That's another problem. You have to have some method of either counting how much plate degraded using a resistance or things of that nature, but that's an inherent limitation of the system because it's a fuel cell. You are only feeding aluminum to this. How do you feed that? That's up to you. Some systems are trying using plates, other systems are using powders. All of them have some pros and cons, and depending on your use cases, you will have some okay kind of analysis of like what is the state of charge to good luck. I just hope this has this much charge. Now, the most painful aspect of this technology is its total round trip efficiency. Meaning, you took around, let's say, 1 gigawatt from, let's say, electrical grid. You paid for 1 gigawatt. How much can you get out of it? You paid for 1 gigawatt to charge this puppy. That is 20%. Let that sink in. That is horrifyingly low. That is why I urge you to think about as a fuel cell. Do not think about as a battery. Now, to compare that to normal EV that has been in market, like from Mahindra Evo to Tesla to all that thing, what kind of efficiency we are talking about? When you are talking about taking, basically paying from the grid, you are talking about 80% efficiency. This is one thing that you must understand. It has very low efficiency. Now, because of such a attention span in the market, there is a lot of fake news, and the reason fake news persists so much is simply because, well, it's mixed up with a bit of truth. Now, primary truth that people are spouting around is that this is best for cars. Well, no, flat out no. It cannot beat lithium-ion system in any way, shape, or form, unless you want to destroy your government. Because what they are doing is, like, you watch any news video about this, any YouTube video, they will always never talk about that it's non-rechargeable. They will talk about recycling, and they will do that at the end. Oh, we're just gonna recycle it. Now, here's the deal. The reason why people do not trigger that red alert is like, dude, we are recycling it. That should not take that much energy. That's true of structural aluminum, meaning aluminum chairs, aluminum bicycle, aluminum aircraft. The primary reason for that, as all of you know, that aluminum creates a reactive shield using oxygen. That shield protects from further degradation. That means you are talking about 3 to 5% degradation of total fresh aluminum, let's say aluminum cans or things of that nature. When you are talking about this, fundamentally you are breaking that system. You have to break that system because your energy is stored in aluminum. You have to oxidize this puppy to 100%. And that is the main issue. Once you oxidize this to 100%, you are making it from fresh. It's almost like you are mining raw aluminum ore and then trying to smelt it. That's why its total cycling efficiency is that low. And flat out, the main aspect, because electricity is not free. This is not one of those things that you're just, we're going to put more solar panels. Solar panels are expensive. Most of you have noticed that we have a giant building next to us. It does not have solar panels on its rooftop. It could easily have around a half megawatt to almost a megawatt, but we don't have it because electricity is expensive. Solar panels are expensive. You cannot sell it to the government where it's like, yeah, we are only taking 1 gigawatt from the grid and give you around 200 megawatts of driving range, basically on energy on the wheels. That's flat out not acceptable. And that's why flat out from, like, even when you see this sort of Evo 2 that has been modified with this battery system, and other company like Mahindra and Maruti working on that topic, they have this idea that we're gonna use that and use our petrol pump network to swap the batteries. While it does work, only problem is where the heck you're gonna provide the electricity needed for this. Like, just imagine it this way: how much energy does a wheel take? Like, if you take India, make it into a uniform wheel, how much energy you're gonna consume? Add 80% to that. That's why we fundamentally cannot use this as a EV replacement. Next slide. While it does not work properly as an EV replacement, it does have certain uses, because most of you who have worked with engineering, you know for a fact, we call it right tool for the right job. It is not suited for basically EV. However, it's one of the most amazing technology that I've ever come across when it works as a proper tool, as in backup power systems. Now, think of it this way: primary problem with backup systems, if you have generators, and especially people who are working with data centers, hospitals, they have to have an automated system that turns on that generator around every week or so. So the oils are working properly, seals are working effectively. Everything has to be checked before you use it, meaning you are burning fuel just for the sake of that, hey, that should work when we need it. Now, compare this. It's basically, it has no moving part. Even the water pump can be replaced with basically manual pump in case of emergency, if water pump is basically loses oil viscosity and all that jazz. So from an emergency backup point of view, this is one of the most amazing thing, and that's the main target of Bharat Petroleum and other oil companies that are working on this. They want to replace diesel generator that is working on mobile towers with this thing. While it is still have the consequence of low efficiency, it does have the benefit of perfect backup power. Meaning, like, think of it this way: like, sell this to a hospital. It's like, hey, put this in your basement. Do not worry about any flammable liquid. You do not have to deal with hydrogen. You do not have to deal with oil, gas, anything like that. And it's just there. You only turn it on when you need it. And if you stop it, let's say you only drain 50% of it, and you stop it, it will stay at 50%. Meaning that 50% can be used 1 year later, 3 years later, 5 years later. So now, another aspect where it can be used because of its very high energy density is place where you do not tolerate weight. Meaning, Aircraft, electric aircraft is a dream that fundamentally speaking, lithium ion cannot achieve. Like people have tried it and they have successfully made plane. This plane that I'm showing you is actual real, it has flown. Consequence of this puppy is that it only works for 20 minutes in the air. And anybody of you have worked with aviation people, they know for a fact that you cannot sell to a plane, it's like it has only 20 minutes. They have to have 20-minute holding time capacity, meaning in case a runway is jammed or things like that, they will go into holding pattern. How the heck you will do that? That you cannot do with lithium ion. However, aluminum does have enough energy density, not as good as jet fuel, but does have enough where 50 people craft can be done with this. Do not try to do with jumbo jets. It does not have that kind of energy density. But for 50 people, small aircraft, basically, I'm from a small town. We have an airport, and the nearest big airport is, let's say, Delhi and not Delhi, as in like Kolkata, Ranchi, and Patna. Again, imagine it this way. Let's say you have an electrical aircraft that goes from these small towns to major airports. That's a big business deal. In those sort of scenarios, having the electrical supply, that works. Again, jet fuel is expensive whenever you can justify this kind of inefficiencies. And lithium flat out cannot compete. What is next? Now, let's compare this to other technologies. Now, only other technology where I can give a one-to-one comparison is hydrogen systems. Now, hydrogen system have been used in development for many years, as in like moon mission kind of years. So, hydrogen achieves a round trip efficiency of around 50%, and some say that a bit more can be achieved, a bit less can be achieved if you try to liquefy the hydrogen. Now, that is still better than this aluminum system. However, it does have issue. Hydrogen does not like to be sealed up. Anybody of you who have worked with hydrogen know for a fact that hydrogen has a very weird tendency to just go through metals. Like it can literally lattice its way through metals because of its small cell. Like anybody who has worked with hydrogen balloons know for a fact that it just leaks. Like storing hydrogen for long term, meaning months, years, that is fundamentally difficult. And it has boom potential, meaning imagine it this way. Let's say you want to make whole hospitals working on this sort of system. You have a hydrogen fuel cell in your basement. Now, let's say something bad happens. Murphy's law always happens. You have earthquake and there is some rupture happening in the tank. Now, what do you do? That's the core aspect of aluminum air battery systems, meaning it is a perfect backup system. You do not have to worry about, hey, there is an earthquake now, we may have an explosion hazard. You do not have that with hydrogen. Now, hydrogen does have the benefit that it is amazing for basically road vehicles, specifically high tonnage capacity, meaning do not think about making hydrogen cars, it's pointless. But trucks, it is awesome for that. Now, lithium ion in terms of energy storage has achieved around 95% when you are talking about just energy itself. Just energy itself. You have very few conversions, just energy, you can achieve 95%. So in those sort of scenario, for an EV structures point of view, lithium ion is the king at this point in time for four-wheeler and for the fact that people want to drive their car. They want to feel the passion. When you want to press the accelerator, you do not want to like, okay, it's going. You want to press the accelerator and it has to disappear basically. That's what, like, that's how whole Elon Musk became a thing because his EV in that point in time was like, he pressed the accelerator, it goes. It does not like, okay, I'm going to pick up the stick or how most of us who have used e-rickshaw is like, okay, it's trying to do something. That's not acceptable. That's acceptable when you have nothing else, but that's not what you want to be. So flat out, I will urge you, all of you, to think about aluminum air battery as aluminum fuel cells. If you provide the aluminum, it works. You remove the water, you remove the reactants, it stops. That's the amazing thing. Makes amazing backup systems. But anything other than that, amazing backup system or basically power supply for an aircraft, it does not work. Flat out, that's the two places where I found the total system works perfectly. So, any questions? Yes, many. Almost all of them are working because their analysis suggests that mobile towers in India is consuming way too much diesel. Like way too much diesel is consumed in mobile tower generator backups. And in those sort of scenarios where you want to make as a backup, it works perfectly. No, they do not. They do not cover with the battery. The design is that they can have modules. These modules will be collected at the end of use. Basically, let's say one module can cover, let's say, for 1 day. So they will put 3 modules there, and once you have used that one module that has been displayed, they will just collect that module and send it to for recycling. I did not. Sorry.
How much it costs?
The cost, right? The cost right now I cannot provide, nor anybody can provide because right now it's very early stages. It's very early stage. I am sorry for that, but like I'm not. No, I just wanted to create this technology because many people are trying to exploit that vulnerability that India has right now. Right now, India is vulnerable. Like we do not have sea mining operations that South Korea is trying to do to remove their lithium dependency. They're like, we are just gonna mine the sea. get the lithium from that, so we do not have China dependency. India is not doing that yet. So there is a market vulnerability that our first presenter here talked about. It's like we need to be independent, and that's what these companies are targeting on. It's like that your basically attention span on independence. That's what they are targeting. They're not targeting on the technology. They're targeting that you want something that you can do. While it's awesome for that, it is the right tool for the right job. It's awesome for that. But you have to understand, you cannot run our cars on this or trucks on this, because well, good luck finding electrical minister that does not ban this. Because that's all.
Indian Oil, will they continue this project?
There are like a lot of people have poured a very serious amount of money into this. So some people will for us, but only the people who are working in car industry, basically vehicle industry, they will back out. But other people who are trying to replace generators, they will succeed. In long term, they will succeed. So that would be all.
Request Mr. Mohan Sugar to come up and Mr. Saurav to join Mr. Mohan Sugar.